Good morning, Otherworldies. This is Juliana Angel, your dark masked diva. I thought I would do a little story time. Alright, so this happened about 20 years ago. Okay, so, you guys know I'm from the hood? Alright, so this was from the hood. Like, the hood. Okay? So, I was away for the weekend visiting my mother, who lived, in a decent place. And I came back to the building where I lived, and I had a friend who lived across the hall. Now, whenever her husband was away, she always used to get into a lot of trouble. Okay? So, now, the thing about me is I've made my share of mistakes. Okay, now, when you live in a hood, you get into a lot of trouble, okay, because it's a hood, right? Like, all you get into is trouble in the hood, okay? So, I've made my share of mistakes. You gotta, maintain if you want to stay out of trouble there. So, I mostly maintained, but my share of mistakes were usually centered around this friend of mine who lived down the hall. So I come home. 5 minutes later, knock on the door. I look through the people. There's my friend and her little 6-year-old son. So I open the door. I'm like, hey. They never do that. So she's looking around like all scared, right? I think that's kind of weird. So I'm like, hey, I just got home. You guys want to come in? And she's like, yeah. And she looks real scared. So they both come in. Okay. So I say hi to him and ask him how he's doing. And he keeps looking at his mom and looking at me and looking at his mom and looking at me. He looks terrified. Let me tell you about her son. He's 6 years old. I babysit her son all the time, right? The thing about him is he's not mute, but he had autism. So he's the kind of kid where sometimes he would speak, but you couldn't understand anything he said. So you would try to understand what he said, but he'd be like, rah, 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 when he'd speak, and you would try to decipher what he said. And you'd say, do you mean this? And you'd point to something, and he'd be like, that kind of thing. Okay, so, and you would just point to stuff, and I go, you want that? And he'd be like, yeah. So it's that kind of thing. So it's like if something bad happened, he might not be able to tell you. So we're living in a bad neighborhood, and this little kid can't tell you what's going wrong. That's that's really scary, right? So my friend and the little son are there, and the son's eyes are like this. Like, he looks really, really scared, and he's really distressed, and so is his mother, right? So this little boy and his mom are both scared. Okay, so my friend and her son are just terrified. I go, what? I go, where is her husband, right? And she said he's not back from his trip yet. Okay, so he's been gone for a few days. He's been gone the whole time I've been gone. I'm like, oh my God, what happened, right? And she said, I need your help. I go, what? Oh my God, what? And she goes, there's this girl at my house. I go, there's a girl at your house? What do you mean? And she goes, well, you left and I got bored. I didn't have anyone to talk to. I go, well, let's talk. I'm back. She goes, no, that's not what I mean. I'm like, what? She goes, you know how I get bored here? And when there's no one here to talk to, how I just talk to the neighbors? And I go, yeah, you know how we all sit down in the lobby and talk to everybody? She goes, well, there's this girl down in the lobby. I go, yeah. She goes, I never saw her before. I go, okay. And she goes, well, she's waiting to be picked up. And the person who was going to pick her up never picked her up. So I said, I told her that, she never did get picked up. So I told her that she could sleep over. And I'm like, uh-huh. And she goes, well, That was a few days ago. She went to sleep in my apartment, and she goes, yeah, and she goes, you know when you left? I go, yeah. She goes, you didn't see her when you left. She goes, but she was actually down in the lobby, and I was talking to her, and I'm like, okay. And she goes, she's been asleep for 3 straight days. I go, is she dead? She goes, no. But she's been asleep for 3 straight days. I go, in your house? She goes, yeah. She's been asleep for 3 straight days, like asleep for 3 straight days in my house. I go, did she get up to go to the bathroom? She goes, well, she might have. Like when we were asleep, maybe she got up to go to the bathroom. I go, are you sure she's alive? She goes, she's alive. She's breathing. She turns over and goes, and she's like, we know she's alive. I go, wake her up and send her home. She goes, I'm scared. I go, I would be afraid too if somebody was asleep for 3 straight days. She goes, can you make her go home? I go, so you've been waiting for me to come home from my mother's so I can make her go home. And she and her son look at each other, and her son looks at me like, please, like, he's like looking at me like I'm his last hope. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, like the look he gave me, I'm like, I can't say no. Because I'm his babysitter, right? So, like, oh God, the look he gave me. So I'm like, okay. I go, like, how scared are you of her? And she goes, it's not like I'm scared of her. She said, I'm just, like, intimidated. So can you please help me figure out how to make her leave? I go, you just need another grown-up in there with you, right? She goes, yeah. I go, okay. I go, I know you don't want to do this. I go, but we need to get the manager. She goes, oh, I don't want him to find out. I go, I know. But he needs to make her leave. He's the manager. She goes, the manager has a crush on you. Go get him. I go, ew, no. She goes, please, he likes you. And I'm like, gross. She goes, please go get him. So I go, he's going to get mad at both of us. It's kind of late. She goes, please go get him. Like, so I went. I go, okay, I'm going to go get him. I go, wait. I go, I'll wake her up. You go get him. So we kind of argued who was going to go get him. I don't remember which one of us got him. But I think it was me. I got him. He was kind of mad. And he's like, what? She let someone stay over. I go, don't yell at her. Please don't yell at her. I go, she's really scared. I go, she was just trying to be nice. And he goes, you guys know you're not supposed to have people sleep over. I go, you know, she was just trying to be nice. I go, you know how she's nice? And I kept saying she's nice over and over. I go, she's really scared you're going to yell at her. Please don't yell at her. I go, we don't know why the girl's been sleeping for 3 days. I go, I just got here from my mom's. I go, please don't yell at her. Please don't yell at her. And so I bring him up there, and he stomps up, because we lived like at the tip-top floor. And so he stomps all the way up the stairs because the elevator is broken because the place was so ghetto. He stomps all the way up there. We go in, and so he just looks at me and looks at her. He goes, now what? And she goes, Juliana, please wake her up. So I shake her awake, and I'm like, hey. I go, it's time to get up. So, like, I asked my friend, please pack all her stuff. So my friend was packing all her stuff. I go, it's time to get up. We're going to call you a cab. Where do you want to go? And she looks like all confused. And the manager's standing there looking really mad. I go, we packed all your stuff. Where do you want to go? We're going to send you there. And she goes, I need to go to the hospital. I go, I think you do. You've been sleeping for 3 days. And she looks like really confused. So we call her a cab and send her to the hospital. And she acts like she doesn't want to go. But the manager tells her, you need to leave and you cannot come back. You need to stay out of this building. So we finally send her away. The manager kind of gets on the case of my friend. But I'm standing there, so he doesn't really, like, rip her bad because I'm standing there. But we finally send the girl away. She leaves. She goes to the hospital. We send her away. The manager kind of gets on my friend's case and everything like that. And so she pretty much begs both of us not to tell her husband that we let the girl stay there. And I'm like, you're not going to tell your husband that the girl was staying there? She's like, no. He's going to get mad. And I'm like, don't let people stay at your house. I'm like, he's going to get mad at you for that? And she goes, I'm just so embarrassed that I let her stay there. I go, just don't let people stay at your house. She goes, why was she sleeping there for so long? I go, I don't know. I go, maybe she's really sick. I go, maybe she was using drugs and she passed out. I go, I don't know. Just don't do that again. She goes, I'm in such big trouble. And I go, well, she's gone now. And so I don't know if the little boy tried to tell his stepdad, or I don't know what ever happened. But I mean, we never saw. I don't know who the girl was there to visit, but apparently the manager has told her to leave before. So I don't know. That particular friend, I ended up having to block her on social media because she was problematic. And she did stupid stuff like that all the time. But I just thought that was a weird story and I wanted to share it. But I had to kind of like pretty much drag that girl out of bed and hand her stuff and kind of usher her down the stairs. Kind of be like, it's time to go. And kind of have like a drill sergeant and just pretty much drag her out into the lobby and point her, take her out to the cab, and not really be a bully, but kind of handle the situation. And I was not enjoying myself. I didn't want to deal with that manager. He was really super gross. But I just wanted to share that story. I'm so glad I don't have to deal with situations like that anymore. But you guys stay blessed, and I will see you in the next content. Bye-bye.